Yes. Welcome in. It's Balloon Party, 101 ESPN. This show is presented to you by Munganess St. Louis Acura, Munganess Burkhardt, Alton Toyota. Jackson, I think my headphones are backwards. Can headphones be backwards, though? Usually the cords...
Yeah, the cords around the back of your neck, the nape.
Thank you. That's getting into some light asphyxiation between TMA and Balloon Party.
Yeah, just a touch.
Text... Oh, no. Did I do it again?
It's all right now. I don't hear it.
Text in. Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. Participate in the YouTube chat. 101 ESPN YouTube channel. The studio camera is brought to you by the Airlines team. Jackson Burkett has prepared a Thursday thoroughfare today?
I have.
Now, here's my thought process. I want today's show. And I think the audience gets a charge when they hear at 10:03, Clarkson Jewelers time check, that I want a show. Because they know I'm firing on all cylinders.
That's right.
And it's like when Tiger showed up at a major in 2001. It's
right.
like, let's just watch him go.
Who's coming in second?
Woody Austin's the answer. And so that has to thrill those listening to this program, whether it be live right now, watching. It'll be even a bigger treat because I'm matching shades of blue with my stunning eyes. But because there wasn't a lot of sports news yesterday, unless you're going Jonte Portering and you have 5 questions on the series closer with the A's, I have a feeling today Thursday's thoroughfare might be glorious and get me going. But on the off chance the Thursday thoroughfare is not strong, and I think today it's going to be strong.
Thank you.
I'll offer up deep dive $35 from my Venmo, which profited yesterday because I did not bet the under on the Royals and White Sox. Was that what the play was in the first inning? And it was a half and it covered?
It did. No runs.
Nicely done. I did bet the under on the Cardinals and A's of 8. I lost that, but I also bet the A's because they were plus money. And I bet Paul Blackburn over 4.5 on strikeouts. So I'm profitable. And I want to take that money and I want to give it to our audience.
That's it.
Because I feel like this show only will have listeners if I pay people to listen.
Hey, listen, they don't ask how, they ask how many.
Thank you. So there it is. If you've got a deep dive request, in case Jackson's Thursday thoroughfare is not strong, 314-399-9646, Air Comfort Service text line. And, of course, we have the YouTube chat, which is active as the day is long, at the 101 ESPN channel. All right, we'll get a sense for where this Thursday thoroughfare is with question 1. What do we got?
Question 1. Some of the Blues played their final game of the 2024 campaign yesterday.
Wow. All right. I'll up it to $40.
Listen, I wanted to hit on the local topics before getting into some of the more macro things. So,
you think the Blue Stars season ender has the people buzzing?
Not at all. Not at all. That game
and
in
yet
particular.
You led with it.
No, the more watershed moment based around that is that the season has officially come to an end. We are now in the off season for the Blue Note.
But like the eclipse, we could have told you that was coming.
Right. Absolutely, yeah. I guess last week they were officially eliminated.
Friday night.
Either way, what are some off-season storylines to follow and monitor? Who will be coaching the team next year if you had to fire a bet? And if you had to also have to fire a bet, will Kyrou still wear the Blue Note at the start of the season next year?
Oh, tick-tock, tick-tock. I don't know. You know, I read Jeremy Rutherford's story on The Athletic, kind of breaking down the coaching situation. Man, like, I got to make a play. I don't really have a strong sense. But I'm going to fire a play.
Sure.
Because I have a sense that you won't. You probably have 2 names that you could think of.
1 for sure. 2.
Okay, what are they?
Joel Quenneville.
Right.
Jim Montgomery.
Oh, okay.
And then JR yesterday on TMA talked about that University of Denver coach.
Right.
Who's red hot. I don't know his name, but that would be interesting.
I would have thought you might say Drew Bannister as well.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's.
4.
I feel like it's live,
Oh, it has
but
to be.
I wouldn't consider it like a likelihood. But then again, I don't really consider any of these things a likelihood. So with that all said, gosh, man, I'm thinking of all. Like I was gonna just say Quenneville
Yeah. Well, I can't answer until you answer. So,
because you need to hear a name.
well, yeah, because I'll just.
But then JR in his column kind of scolded people for thinking Jim Montgomery. He thinks Jim Montgomery's staying in Boston even if they get knocked out in the first round again.
Okay.
So I really don't know. I mean, that's my honesty. I'll just say a name. God, Jackson, I want to give the people something. And I don't, because if the Quenneville interview would have happened where he reached out to Cam Jansen and Andy Strickland and did that,
Right.
I would have said Joel Quenneville. But as I was about to say Joel Quenneville to you, I was thinking the only reason it happened is because he was in town for Chase's benefit. And he's like, I guess I'll talk. I know these guys and I'll do it. He wasn't really like seeking it out.
Right.
So therefore it doesn't say that he's necessarily, and he's not even eligible at the moment.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So would you consider Drew Bannister the betting favorite at this very moment?
Here's my reason for no there.
Okay.
That was his soundbite from 3 days ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that was a guy who wasn't thinking he was even remotely in the mix. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. The clip was very reflective as we talked about with both JR Monday here and Wednesday on TMA. So yeah, it'd be tough to say anybody really is the betting favorite. You could say everyone is equal odds for real.
Yeah, I don't know. By the way, the Bruins are going to have to play the Leafs. It actually happened.
Oh, Dean and John Ellis. It's like Harbaugh's playing against each other.
It could have already started. You know what, JR? I'm looking at you. Jim Montgomery, next head coach of the St. Louis Blues. Balloon Parties exclusively reporting. Isn't that the show with the guy who doesn't watch hockey? Yes. But one of the guys does. Jim Montgomery, St. Louis Blues. They lost back-to-back games. The Panthers passed them up. The Bruins now have to play the Leafs. Both of them are sputtering into the playoffs. One's lost 4 in a row. One's lost 2 in a row. Leafs beat the Bruins. They're mad as Hornets in Boston. They're already mad about the Red Sox offseason. The Patriots, no offense. I guess they'll be happy about the Celtics. What if the Celtics lose?
They're plus 150 to win the NBA championship.
Is that right? Those are Scheffler-esque numbers.
Yeah.
Jim Montgomery.
Jim Montgomery is
There's
the play.
my play.
That's the play.
And then if you scream it, you look in the camera, it sounds. That's what Orlovsky would do. What would Dan Orlovsky do? That's what I do.
Right. Pick out a local journalist, hold them accountable.
Right. I'll go Jim Montgomery.
All right. I like it. I have no reasoning for liking it. I just know I like it.
All right.
That's a good coaching name, Jim Monty.
Will Jordan Kyrou be wearing the note in October of 24?
Yes,
so
October
6
24.
months from now.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
I expected you to respond, and then you just kind of nodded as if we were doing a visual show. And we are for 100 people.
For some, but yeah, this is an audio medium. That is for sure. Yeah, I just don't see. I don't know if there's a lot of like we talked about yesterday, where like Kyrou probably fits in better. Yesterday, I mean by TMA. Kyrou probably fits better as like a second or third line guy on a really good team. But with the contract he carries with him, you're not going to put him on the second or third line, as JR alluded to yesterday. Mostly a checking line, not necessarily a goal scoring line. So if he was not making what he was making, A, the Blues probably don't trade him, but B, maybe a team like that would be more interested in him. But with how much money he makes, I'm not sure a lot of teams are going to be clamoring for that.
I just think they'll see if they can carry over the momentum from the end to see if you got something.
Maybe a new coach could be helpful in that development.
So I'll say yes.
Yeah.
All right, Jim Montgomery and Jordan Kyrou will be here in October. There you go.
Those are 2 plays.
Those are the 2 plays for a very surprising lead. Yeah. I thought you were going to go Cardinals and Azing.
It's such it's like that.
What about the energy in the ballpark, though?
I'm serious. I don't know if there was 1,000 people in that ballpark yesterday. There was entire sections.
12 o'clock start on the West Coast. I know it's 2:30 here. 12 o'clock start on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And in the East Bay. What are you guys doing on a Wednesday afternoon? Want to go see the team moving to Sacramento? I hope we're not doing that. Not we, obviously we, but like people aren't like ripping A's fans.
No.
The A's fans are in the exact same spot as we actually were in.
Yeah.
Actually, their spot's worse because they know the team's gone.
Yeah.
St. Louis fans were pretty confident but hopeful that the Rams were staying when that final season took place. So I don't use that as a reflection of Oakland baseball fans,
Not at all.
for the record. It's the circumstance
Yeah.
as they head to play in Sacramento.
Players talk about from like the mid-aughts how fun it was to play in the Oakland Coliseum.
Oh, absolutely. Those boys had a good time.
And the fans are really cool, and it was a very, and obviously
It's a great atmosphere anytime they have a playoff game.
wonderful weather, and yeah, it's definitely not a reflection. And when you compare it to the Rams, there's only 8 dates a year, 7 if you go play in England for the tourism, and they have 81 for, let's be honest, a more boring product than NFL football. Sorry to break it to some, but that's definitely not a reflection on Oakland fans in general at all.
Guys, new segment, Piddles Picks, sending them a $2 Venmo for next month's Instagram subscription to Bear Claw. That's from the 636.
No, I'm not going to take anyone's money. I'm not going to give out. That was the last.
You going to give any more Bear Claw picks?
No, he makes money. I can't do that.
I missed out on
Wouldn't be
that.
right. Wouldn't be right. Yeah, I mean, that play, he's always giving out a lot of first quarter bets in football, and I like those. Those are fun. It's an electric ride.
Were you watching the game?
No, I was monitoring it because it was like 1:10 was the first pitch.
Absolutely.
And so I was driving home, and like right when I got home, I fired it up and saw 0-0 in the first inning.
You just won.
Well, I had to wait till the end of the game to see if my bet had transferred over because of the rain delay. So it was kind of a sweat there.
Good. Wow.
But we got through it.
So Bear Claw have a play for today?
He probably does, but that was the first and last one I'll ever give value. You have to pay, and I'm not going to promote anything on him, but good dude and gave a solid play. Great football knowledge. Outstanding.
Bear Claw on Instagram.
Bear Claw. Bear down.
All right, Jackson, we will have more of this Thursday thoroughfare, which honestly I'm a little more concerned about now after the first question. So what did I up the price to, $40?
When I asked the first question and you upped it to 40.
Yeah. Like, okay.
Be the sweat just goes for me.
Here's I'll give you my thought process on this because I gave my thought process on Jim Montgomery and why I didn't go Quenneville and Bannister. My thought process is you're usually a wizard with macro questions that can turn into, like, if I had the time, a podcast on this show. So maybe the strength of the Thursday thoroughfare is in the back end?
Oh, yeah. I would say so.
Okay.
I would say so.
But if somebody wants $40 Venmo'd to them.
Yeah, you can essentially upstage me. But
if you got a good Thursday thoroughfare, why am I giving away $40?
All I care about is the show being as good as humanly possible.
Oh, my gosh.
I will take nothing personally.
So altruistic.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's very big of me. But, yeah, so if someone comes up with a better topic, hey, Bub's your uncle. I don't know if that's the correct use of the phrase.
I have no idea. Let's see what we got. What are the biggest turning points for each franchise based on their current situations? Blues, Cardinals, and Rams. I kind of like that one.
Yeah, there's some meat there.
I kind of like that one.
There's some meat there.
Yeah, the people are sending them in. $40, why not? I mean, you got nothing to lose. You send in a text. You might have $40 in your Venmo.
Tank of gas right there, or at least some part of it.
I'm telling you. All right, 314-399-9646. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you. This program is called Balloon Party. It is sponsored by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, and it airs on 101 ESPN and the 101 ESPN YouTube channel. Welcome back. This is Balloon Party. My name is Tim McKernan. That's Jackson Burkett. And Jackson, I don't know if you will allow me to do this for the Thursday Thoroughfare, but I would like to edit on the fly my answer to who I think is the next Blues head coach.
Floor is yours.
Thank you, sir.
Make like Sonny and Cher.
I think that was said to distract me, and I'm not going to let it happen, even though you're over there doing the 1930s boxing champion gesture that Mickey Carroll gave as he exited spring training in 2006. Mickey Carroll of Wizard of Oz fame. I believe Drew Bannister will be the Blues head coach. Mm-hmm. Here's my reasoning. And maybe I'm thinking too, there's one tell.
You're reading the tea leaves.
But, okay, BK and Ferrari are out at Centene. They're doing the press conferences, wrapping up the season. And Mike Midnight Rider, executive producer, 101 ESPN, came in here during the commercial break, and he said, hey, they're going to have Armstrong on at 1, and then Drew Bannister on at 1:35. And I said, hey, Midnight. I said, did they book Drew Bannister at 1:35 after Armstrong? Or did the Blues book that? And he said, the Blues booked it. I said, all right, Drew Bannister's the head coach. That's all.
You just leave it there.
That's all.
That's right.
Why would the Blues set up the interim coach to come on after Doug Armstrong if his tenure is over?
Right.
That's all. Meryl Streep, Devil Wears Prada. 2006?
I want to say 7.
I'll say 2007 because it gives me 2008 and 2006. Doesn't matter. I'm right. Don't need to waste your time looking it up. Yeah, that's what we do around here. We get things right. So there it is. Do with it what you want. I am withdrawing Jim Montgomery. Doesn't mean I don't think he might not get whacked in Boston.
Right.
Because the East is done. The West still has games to be played. And all they needed to do was pick up a point. And they didn't. And now they got to play the Leafs in the first round. And I don't know how many people are paying attention to that in Boston, but if they are, they're mad as hornets that the Panthers passed them. And now they got to play the Leafs because that's a little tougher test than the second wild card. Yeah. As the Blue Shirts, Jackson, will have the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. The Blue Shirts, of course, being
the New York Rangers.
Oh, my gosh.
I knew that one. Yeah.
Who last won the Stanley Cup in?
Oh.
O.J. Simpson.
Oh, 94.
There we go. Look, we should go on $25,000 pyramid together. It'd be fun. It'd be fun.
Weren't the Knicks also playing for a title that year, too?
They were playing the Rockets.
Oh, yeah, that was the 2 Rockets years. Man, what a time to be a New York sports fan.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, there it is. What do you think about my read?
I think it is a fair question to wonder why the Blues would set up an interview with a coach that they don't have much interest in bringing back next year for any sort of media. I think that's a fair question. Now, it could be just, we're wrapping up the season, here's the coach, and think nothing of it. But the question has to be, I mean, it's a fair inference, I would say. I'd say it's a very
That's
fair
where I'm coming
inference.
from.
Yeah, I think it's a fair inference.
So do with that what you want.
I love reading tea leaves. Just like, not like saying definitively, like, now this tells me, but being like, hey, let's wonder why this is happening. Let's critically think through this. I like that. I think it's fun.
Well, that's what this show is. It's fun. Jackson, what is question 2 on the Thursday Thoroughfare? And this will determine whether or not I'm sending a Venmo, because we got a lot of good deep dive requests. So we're loaded for bear, and my Venmo is finger on the trigger, hand on my 9. Pac said that, didn't he?
That sounds right.
With MC Breed? That was with MC Breed, wasn't it?
Doug? All right. ESPN is getting ready to release a 30 for 30 documentary about Stuart Scott.
Oh, wow. Stuart Scott.
Yep. About Stuart Scott and his incredible run as a SportsCenter anchor. Scott was a pioneer when it came to a style of broadcasting that many viewed as just, easy work, just describing highlights in a recorded show. However, Scott, with many people my age and older than me, was the North Star when it came to the world of sports. Are these days of having a singular person be the voice of sports news behind us, with social media and podcasts phasing out much of sports broadcasting's conventional delivery methods, is another Stuart Scott out there? Do you think that not having a presence like SportsCenter is bad for the future of sports and fan engagement? Or do you think the style of social media now with short clips and direct fan engagement with athletes actually could lead to a brighter future?
Oh, yeah. Ask me a question, and if social media lead to a brighter future, what a layup question that is, just to try to start me. You know what? 2000, I asked Chris Pronger at a skate in San Jose if he took offense to comments made. I think it was made by the sexiest man alive, Mike Ricci. And he goes, "Oh, you're trying to stir the pot, eh?" That's all you're doing with that question. You're trying to stir the pot, eh?
I would say more so when I ask about like the way sports highlights are delivered now through social media, just in a vacuum. The comment sections around it, notwithstanding, because we all know where those go. However,
cat avatars, dog avatars have been replaced by cat avatars.
They're trying to throw us off the scent. Have to wake up pretty early in the morning. Well, more like I can scroll Twitter or Instagram and in 5 minutes get a real taste of the best that
things have changed.
Right.
People, my parents' generation looked forward to and got the news from picking up the newspaper. Mm-hmm. My dad used to, for when the Cardinals were on the West Coast in the 1980s, and I couldn't stay up to watch the game, which made me angry because I wanted to watch those games, he would leave a note in my drawer when I would wake up letting me know if the Cardinals won or lost. And so that was how I found out if the Cardinals won or lost. So people get their information differently, just like there will be something within the next 10 or 15 years that will be a hell of a lot different. Maybe it'll be better, maybe it'll be worse, but it'll certainly be popular with younger people than because they won't be on Instagram because their parents will be on it, and therefore it shall not be considered cool. Mm-hmm. So getting highlights in different ways, I don't think that's an issue. The way the information is passed around is what is... and there's zero accountability for getting things wrong. I'm amazed by it.
Right.
How things are framed initially on social media is, I talked about the Ohtani story last week. Zach Johnson at the Masters saying, well, maybe Zach Johnson was saying F off to himself. No, he wasn't. He's covering for himself. Well, I don't know. I mean, Zach Johnson isn't necessarily known as like a bad guy. He's like my age and has kind of just been a low-key guy who surprisingly won a couple majors, and now all of a sudden, because you don't like what happened in the Ryder Cup, now all of a sudden he's a gangster. No, because the way that clip was portrayed on social media, Zach Johnson tells the patrons who sarcastically clap for him to F off. I mean, how do you know? I don't know. And then yesterday we had the Cardinals are asking for public money. And then Bill DeWitt, God bless the St. Louis Business Journal for actually going to Bill DeWitt III, who goes, no, I don't even know where this is coming from. How can I ask for public money? We don't even know what we're asking for. Where is this coming from? Things just get passed around, and then takes come. And the truth, we have to uncover a bunch of BS to then get to actual story. And then when somebody says, hey, this isn't true, no, he's protesting too much. So that irritates the hell out of me. But I think that's more of a reflection of the business. And the business, I think, incorrectly is geared toward getting hashtag engagement. But hashtag engagement does not necessarily lead to dollars. Mm-hmm. It is a misnomer. And so getting highlights in different ways, immaterial. Great, fine. Quicker, fine. The way the news/opinion is passed around is the source of the problem. Yeah. Stuart Scott. It's interesting that you consider Stuart Scott to be like the North Star. It's difficult because he passed away at an early age. So, but this isn't a negative on Stuart Scott so much as a positive toward. I felt like Dan Patrick, Heath Olbermann, Craig Kilborn, those were the guys, and then you had Rich Eisen and Stuart Scott, and they were a great tandem. We had Rich Eisen on TMA one time and had a really good conversation about him and his relationship and his love for Stuart Scott. But I felt like it was more Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann that kind of changed the way that it was done. And it's just not done that way anymore. But it's not done that anymore because there isn't money in it like it used to be. Why? Because people are getting highlights in different ways. So why would you invest whatever those guys were making, probably $1 million+ per year, in anchors when the way that it's set up right now is everybody's kind of replaceable, and they have an immaterial impact on Disney's bottom line. But back in the day, they drew ratings, which therefore drew advertising dollars, and they mattered.
Yeah. So like when I talk about how much I enjoy, I can scroll Twitter and Instagram for 5 minutes and get a good picture of what happened the day before in sports. But what I miss out on, and what SportsCenter did so well, is that if we talked about bench clearing brawls the other day. If that goes on, you see a video on that on Twitter, you see it, and you move on. What SportsCenter would do is add context around it, what happened leading up to it to create this, and then interviews with players and coaches immediately following the game. And now you have a much better picture of it. And I feel like we miss out on so much of context and so much more analysis because of the way we consume shorter and shorter and shorter clips, therefore changing the way that we view sports. And I do kind of miss the days of SportsCenter being like a huge show that everybody watched and every morning, and that was where you got your sports information in the newspaper. But at the same time, you advance, you grow or die, and so I understand adapt or die.
Because if it was grow or die, I'd be dead. I'd be gone. The growth spurt was very brief. It was like a half inch, maybe.
There's still one maybe coming.
I think there's some people hit puberty around 48.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed.
Yeah, you could be playing center for the Missouri Tigers next year.
Fight Tiger. Yeah, I haven't graduated, so I guess I have eligibility.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tim, definitely Dan Patrick. That's from the 636. Stuart Scott was as cool as the other side of the pillow. Jackson, that was one of his famous lines. I was a fan, don't get me wrong. SVP is the new Stuart Scott. I would agree in that sense if you're comparing like who has the biggest presence on the desk at ESPN. No question it's SVP. And when I DVR those shows and I see that he didn't do SportsCenter the night before, I'm kind of like, I'm going to pass.
Right.
But because it's like a cover band to the Dan Patrick, Keith Olbermann, Stuart Scott, Rich Eisen, Craig Kilborn era. And it's not something that I find to be particularly entertaining. There is an anchor who's on the weekends and the mornings. Wow. Alarming. It's alarming. But SVP is outstanding. It's just not where people congregate as sports fans, as you were making that observation.
Yeah.
I'm curious what the story is on Stuart Scott. I mean, we know about the incredibly unfortunate early passing. Mm-hmm. But, I know he's a North Carolina guy.
Yeah.
And he had a huge following.
Kind of making, like, SportsCenter must-see TV for a lot of people, I think. And his impact on black culture is everlasting, and in sports especially. So I'm very curious because I love the 30 for 30s. And
I love 30 for 30s, too. I feel like they haven't had a good one in a while.
Yeah, they came out of the gate red hot. Like, I mean, the OJ one is some of the finest journalism.
That's what I'm saying. I can go back and rewatch a lot of 30 for 30s, but some of the recent ones I'm just like, I'm not even going to bother with.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
It's almost like you have to like look at different angles of certain things because they've hit on so many of the great meat on the bone stories of years gone by. And so now, because I think they have a collection in the hundreds of 30 for 30 documentaries. Like, I think I
think it all kind of started with Sports Century, which they did at the end of the 20th century. They counted down the top athletes. And for real, and I'm not a horse racing guy at all, but one of my favorite Sports Centuries, they ranked athletes. And, of course, this was controversial. If they did this in 2024, there'd be a lot of engagement. What do you call it? Engagement farming? But, like, Secretariat was ranked. But the second, I'm just like, what?
It's like a Mad Dog list.
But the Secretariat Sports Century is incredible, and is, it's one thing for somebody who's a horse racing fan to say that I couldn't care any less, and I'm like, oh, the Secretariat Sports Century. The one on Gretzky is absurd. I mean, it's just absurd. I mean, good, absurdly good. So that's, I think, was kind of the birth of the longer form sports documentary, 30 for 30. I know Bill Simmons played a large role in that. I don't know if he was involved in what took place in the late 90s with those things. I love those.
Oh, yeah.
I love those. I can't get enough of those.
Yeah.
So I'll look forward. When does that debut, Jackson?
I don't know on the exact date.
Nice show prep, ass.
That's right. But usually, I mean, I think with documentaries is a little bit quicker than like a standard movie production. So I don't know what stage they're in, but I know it's in production. All
right, there it is. Balloon Party exclusive, Drew Bannister, in our opinion, because he's going to be on at 1:35 after Armstrong.
Unless you clicked off at like 10:17.
Then it's Jim Montgomery. And the Stuart Scott 30 for 30 is in production. All right, more where that came from. Second half of Balloon Party. This is Balloon Party driven by Mungan S. St. Louis Acura, Mungan S. Burkhardt, Alton Toyota.
This is Action Jackson with a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues lose the final game of their season last night to the Dallas Stars. Wrapping up the season, BK and Ferrari will be out at Centene Community Ice Center. They're going to have Doug Armstrong on at 1 o'clock, and they are going to have Coach Drew Bannister on at 1:30. The Cardinals lose yesterday. Final score is 6-3 to the Athletics. Off day today. They'll take on the Brewers at home tomorrow. Kyle Gibson on the mound Friday, 7:15 first pitch. And last night, the 76ers defeat the Heat 105-104 behind a dominant performance in the fourth quarter by Nick Batum. The 76ers will go on to face the New York Knicks in the first round of the NBA playoffs. That was their Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome back to Balloon Party, 101 ESPN. My name is Timothy Michael McKernan. That's Jackson Bennett Burkett. And I'm having trouble with the headphones today, Jackson. Let me see.
All right.
How's that look? Good?
Yeah.
Nurse? All right, you're watching on YouTube. You've described me as classically handsome
I have.
before. But wouldn't classically handsome include height?
Not necessarily. No.
Text in your thoughts on that.
No. When I talk about classically handsome, I talk a lot like
Chiseled facial features?
Yeah, structure of the face.
So you agree if I were 6'2", I'd essentially be Billy D. Williams?
In so many ways.
Thank you.
Yeah.
138 people are in the YouTube chat.
Hello, friends.
Yeah, good to see you. Cat Dad Gamer, Tiny PP, of course, Don Corleone. Floyd Murphy's in there. He's talking it over with John Scores and Eric Nickens. And Bach Hogg. Good talks. Good talk, son. Good talk. All right, Jackson, Thursday Thoroughfare.
50 yards. All right, Tim. Oh, boy. Ken Rosenthal joined in the fray, writing about Angel Hernandez and his reputation for bad calls yesterday in The Athletic. Some umpires stood up for him. Some did not. Either way, it brings up the age-old debate of why we need human umpires behind the plate when you have the technology to do it electronically. You have to bet in the next 5 years, do you think we'll have automatic balls and strikes?
Yes.
Okay. I was going to go 10 years if you were going to say no, but 5 years?
Yeah, I do think so.
Yeah.
I do think so.
I agree as well. I'm not
I read
personally.
that column. Yeah. He cited an umpire who retired in 2022 talking about how Angel Hernandez is one of the kindest people, and he misses seeing him because he's so kind. Rosenthal acknowledged that may be completely irrelevant to the conversation, but I thought I would include it. And then he spoke with another umpire on the basis of anonymity. I believe, Ken, that he really did speak to an umpire and isn't doing like the New York Post thing, all due respect. Or a tabloid thing. Sources close to Blake Lively said that the Angel Hernandez is under the microscope and we all miss calls.
Yeah.
It just doesn't get any attention relative to the attention Angel Hernandez gets.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like Angel Hernandez has been missing calls for as long as I've been watching baseball, and I don't have an axe to grind with Angel Hernandez in any capacity, and it's wonderful that he's a lovely gentleman. I know a lot of lovely people, but that doesn't mean that I would hire them.
Right.
See what we're doing here? It's not a 501c3 we're running, okay? We're looking at the bottom line, and if you're not interested in the bottom line, I suggest you find another place to work. Are we clear?
Absolutely. Crystal.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's almost like with the kindest guy in the world, it's almost like preemptive defense against like an ad hominem argument. Like when people, I think oftentimes like Angel Hernandez has had some terrible missed calls. Absolutely. But that's not necessarily saying that he is a bad person. However, oft times with your favorite thing, social media, it gets into ad hominem, it gets into personal attacks on them. So it's like preemptive. Just in a vacuum, Angel Hernandez makes bad calls. And when you have the technology to rectify these issues, it begs the question, why not do it? However, saying all of that, I'm against automatic balls and strikes.
All right. But you acknowledge that you think it's going to happen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, we're on the same page.
I think we're getting to a point where it's like, okay, you have to make the right call. Like it's more important to make the right call than have the human element of it. I like the human element of it because baseball is going to be weird. And if it's going to be weird, let's make it full on weird. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Look at Jackson.
Michael Keaton.
Batman?
Yeah.
Nice. 1989. One of the only two films I've ever been in which there was applause after the film concluded.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Interesting. I never got people applauding after a movie ended, like when you're seeing it.
Well, they were just moved.
By Jack Nicholson's performance.
I don't know. I was 12. I was at Kenrick and I'm probably trying to engage in heavy petting, be honest with you.
I understand it. I just like, it's like 6:30 on a Saturday in St. Louis and you're clapping for, like, it's not like, Tim Burton wasn't there.
If New York or one of your coastal cities where your elite people hang out, it would be better. But because we're in flyover territory, you don't think people in South County should be allowed to clap?
Well, if you're at Grauman's Chinese Theater on premiere night.
This elitist attitude that you have. I'm a meat and potatoes guy, and if I want to go to a picture here in St. Louis, Ronnie's is where I would go, probably.
Yeah.
I'm going to clap all day long, brother.
And hey, that is your right to do so. I'm just telling you, Tim Burton is not sitting in that theater with you. So clapping if you're at Cannes Film Festival and all the people who made it.
What about somebody attention whores on social media and says, like, note to Bill DeWitt on the off chance he's in the, Facebook group with him?
Call that a patriot.
Amen. Piddles needs to live life in a vacuum. He's the reverse bubble boy. That's from Thanks, Comma Dad.
I don't know how to take that. Thanks, Comma Dad.
I don't know. I just read what
I live in a vacuum?
Piddles needs to live life in a vacuum. The reverse bubble boy. Thanks, Comma Dad.
If I was living in a vacuum, I would be the bubble boy. The moops.
Tim, if you were 6'2", it'd be unfair to us. It's in the 618.
That's true. You can't have it all. You can't have it all.
What do you think would be more important for me becoming Billy D. Williams? A symmetrical skull or being 6'2"?
I feel like the answer is not on the board, or the question's not on the board there, but I'll go with 6'2".
I think so, too.
Yeah.
Billy D. They could overlook the asymmetrical skull if I were 6'2".
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But then the fact that I'm 5'1", the asymmetrical skull becomes, well, I don't want to say it's because he's 5'1", or the personality. Then the asymmetrical skull is kind of highlighted.
What you're missing here is if you're taller, more people won't notice the asymmetrical head.
No, I disagree, because then you're going to be looking up and you're going to go, what in the hell's going on?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. It doesn't come out when you're wearing the ball cap, though.
Well, that's why I'm always wearing a ball cap. This isn't a, surprise. LOL, he used in the in a vacuum reference multiple times already today. That's from Thanks, Comma Dad.
Yeah, I do a lot of... and maybe it's...
if people want to know what the other movie is, I apologize. I stepped all over you there.
Yeah. No, please. I actually really want to know
you're
that.
interested in this. You could probably guess
If
it.
you give me the year, I could guess it.
97.
Rounders.
No.
Well,
I mean, I like rounders, but, I'm one of like 50 poker degenerates in the area, and I wasn't even playing back then.
I was going to say, is Saving Private Ryan's 98? So it can't be Saving Private Ryan. 90.
I got to put you on the clock because BK and Ferrari, I have Drew Bannister coming up, which tells me that he's going to be the head coach, just for the record. That's at 135. Doug Armstrong at 1.
Jackie Brown?
No. Good guess, though. Titanic.
Oh, yeah. That's a big miss on my part for not getting that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that.
Nice. Look at the listeners. They were texting it in. Tip of the cap to the listeners.
Yeah, boy. That's a big miss on my part.
If you started every hole in the green, farthest point from the hole, and the rest of the field played from the tips, could you win the Masters? This was posed, I guess this was making its way around TikTok. Mm-hmm. And it came up on TMA a couple days ago. And I'm not saying this because I'm a great player or a bad player. I just think, yes, I do. Because I think I would get some 2s on par 4s and some 3s on par 5s.
Yeah. And
I'm sure I would bogey a couple. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I do. I don't know what to say about that. But there was really a debate. The debate to me is if you were starting 100 yards from the hole, could you win the Masters? And I would say, no, I could not.
Yeah, I don't.
But if I'm on the green from the furthest point from the pin on the green and everybody else is playing from the tips like they normally do, I think I would. If asked, I will serve. William Tecumseh Sherman.
That's right.
Great uncle, matter of fact. I'm cut from old money, even though I'm a meat and potatoes guy.
Right, that's the key right there.
Meat and potatoes.
You're like the best of both worlds. Like,
right. I understand the elite.
The aristocrats.
I choose to be a meat and potatoes guy. Cam Avenue.
That's right.
Capital Partners.
That's when you start rolling up your sleeves and loosening the tie. And then
they'll be doing that in St. Louis today with the Storms, won't they?
Absolutely.
10:49 in St. Louis. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers. The program's called Balloon Party, and it is sponsored by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN and the 101 ESPN YouTube channel. Welcome back. Final segment of Balloon Party for August 18th, 2024. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you on the program. Let's see. Just wondering, is or has Jackson watched Shoresy? I think it would make him love hockey.
I have watched both seasons of Shoresy. Anytime you hear me say they don't ask how, they ask how many. That is I'm cribbing from Shoresy. That is a homage to that show. I think it's the spinoff of Letterkenny, and I think that's some of the most, a masterclass in comedy writing is Letterkenny and by extension Shoresy. So yeah, big fan. Still not a big fan of hockey though.
You clapped for a movie that you already knew the ending before watching it. That's from the 636. I wasn't, might be surprised to hear this. I wasn't clapping at the end of Titanic. I was too moved by the passing of Jack. Spoiler alert, apologies. But the audience was, and I believe I was in Columbia, Missouri at the time.
Probably the theater I later worked at.
There's a chance. Did you say August of 18? And there's back-to-back texts on that.
August of 18.
There's back-to-back texts. What does that mean? April 18th, not August. I said August 18th.
Oh.
I was like, what is going on?
August 18th.
Hold on a second. 10:55, timestamp it. Earlier today on Balloon Party, I said something that I would not want to say again. And if I offended anybody, I'd like to take this time to apologize. I'm a father. I'm a husband, and I'm a godless pervert.
Mm-hmm.
And I meant to say April, but I understand saying August was offensive to some. I'm going to take some time away to reflect and better myself.
Right.
And I'm going to come back tomorrow probably because I've already taken a lot of time off this year and say it's April 19th.
Yeah.
I ask for your thoughts and prayers.
Mm-hmm. And respect to my family.
And privacy at this time.
That's right.
Even though I'll probably be on social media giving takes. Please don't respond.
Now the burners come. Sick 'em, boys.
That's from the 636. Thank you, Tim. No problem.
Yeah, it was
Timmy,
important.
thank you for that. That's for the 573. Timmy, thank you for the apology. We all need it. You are the best. From the 573.
There you go. This is actually going better than I thought it would.
Yep.
These burners aren't doing what I pay them for.
Jackson, do you have a final question before it won? No, maybe. You know what? In 35 minutes, Doug Armstrong says Drew Bannister is the head coach of the St. Louis Blues.
Oh, wow. That's the play.
That's what I think's going on.
Okay.
Hey, are you interested in a little wager?
Yeah, I'll throw 10 on it.
All right.
But like,
Hold on.
I know.
Now we're doing it's stipulation season.
after the fact, too,
Yeah,
which is
I know.
great.
I mean, yeah, you want to get your legs broken? You want to wind up in the river? You do this crap.
I don't. Are you saying like today he'll be announced?
I am saying that today he will be announced.
All right, I'll take 10 on the opposite direction.
All right, fair enough. There it is. Find out what Bear Claw 57 saying on Instagram.
He's locked in.
Yeah, I guarantee you. I guess it's like 10:57. Do you have time for another question? I don't know. That apology was crap. There you go. That's very social media.
Yeah, thank you. Finally getting my money's worth.
What do you got?
Quick hitter for fun. We talked about my confusion with MLB bench clearing brawls, and I would like to come up with our collective weird baseball quirks that seem either outdated or just odd compared to other sports.
There's a lot.
First off with me.
Oh, I thought you were going to list some, and then I was going to react.
Okay, well, yeah, I have a couple.
Okay, let's hear.
Why we keep records, why Major League Baseball keeps records from the 1800s and uses them today. Like Cy Young has 511 career wins. There's no chance in hell any pitcher could ever get to that number. There's no way. Why is it still a record?
Well, Jackson, baseball is the thread of the generations of Americans that have come before us that ties us all together.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Ken Burns. Next, other sports, sometimes hockey guys will, if someone's acting out, they might give them a quick little check with the elbow. Hey, maybe we'll drop the gloves. In baseball, they'll take a hard ball and throw it upwards of 98 miles per hour at your person. And that is what we call justice. That's crazy.
I agree when you break it down.
That's lunacy.
That it's like a weapon.
Yeah, for a guy who like took a second too long when hitting a home run.
Well, there's that.
And then someone else might catch it.
They threw at one of the good players on the other team. So, like, if I'm coming up and obviously batting ninth, goes without saying, and I, wanted to catch the man under his eyes, and I slid hard into second base, well, they're going to, have the guy who's hitting third or fourth pay for it because they're not going to waste that on me because they want to keep me in the game.
It's so crazy.
That's justice.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. And then I guess one more.
Respect history, Chud. That's from the 636.
I get it. Cy Young, and they named an award after him a year after he died. So that was very nice of Major League Baseball. He also died with making the equivalent of $6,000 a year because that's how little they pay baseball players. And he was living off a pension. He was looking for odd jobs in his late 70s, trying to make ends meet. Cy Young, the leader in wins.
What's that got to do with anybody?
That's how old these records are. It's crazy. He was born 2 years after the Civil War.
This is where you start wealth shaming people again. That's what that was.
So you should make more. You should have made. Well, I don't know. There probably wasn't much money.
Somehow the market's been hurt in the last few days. I know somehow you've profited. It always makes me wonder about the insider trading allegations that I'm posting. And Cy Young did his best, and here you are mocking his income. I don't get why that's why even have the record if there's no way in hell anyone could ever break it. Jackson hates baseball is our final thought for today here on Balloon Party. All right, I'm going to get $10 in my Venmo in the next 35 minutes when Doug Armstrong announces that Drew Bannister's the head coach. And then I guess he's going to be on at 1:30 on BK and Ferrari, and Armstrong's going to be on at 1 o'clock. So there it is, Jackson, at Tim-McKernan. That's where the Venmo's coming. Woot, woot. BK and Ferrari are up next. For Jackson Burkett, I'm Tim McKernan. This has been Balloon Party on 101 ESPN.